Are you planning a trip to Taiwan? Let me tell you about 12 things that you can do in the city of Taipei. We did some of these things during our 4-day trip there, but a lot of these suggestions come from my research as well. This list will include some cool areas to visit, different things to do, flea markets, souvenirs to look out for, outdoor places, museums, and lots of Google Pin recommendations. At the end of the video, I'll also share where we stayed and why, because it was kind of hard to choose. Okay, let's jump right into number 1, and that is Dihua Shopping Street. This is an older district. You'll see lots of brick when you're walking around here. There are lots of restaurants and coffee shops, as well as Chinese herbal shops that are really cool to walk around. You'll also see a lot of bars, which is why we went here during the day and during the night just to check it out. When we were here during the day, we got a special siphon Taiwanese coffee at a place called Coffee 2F, or the second floor. There is also a small temple there and a cool pottery store that I'll talk about a little bit later. As far as some bars that we went to or that I had saved on my map, we did end up going to the Mikeller Bar Taipei. They had a lot of good beer there. And on my list, I also had the Antique Bar 1900, which is an absinthe bar. And I also had this bar called Yoi, and that just in general looked really cool to me. Number 2 is the Dihua Old Street, and this is really just the same street, but if you walk further up north, it continues to just be some older brick buildings, and it's a cool vibe and just a cool place to walk around. Number 3 is temples. There's obviously lots of temples in Taipei, but a few that I have saved and that we went to is this one, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And right across the street from there is the Taipei Confucius Temple, which we also went to. And that was interesting because they had a lot of information about Confucianism if you want to learn more about that. I also have this temple saved. We didn't get there, but I saw it on Instagram and it looks really pretty. Number 4 is the changing of the guard at the Memorial Hall. So this grand Memorial Hall is open from 9 to 5 every day, and every hour on the hour they have a changing of the guard ceremony that takes 15 to 20 minutes. My tip for getting the best view of this ceremony is to stand behind the ropes. So when you go in there and they haven't started clearing the room yet, everyone is kind of crowded looking at the guards and things like that. And you might notice these roped off stanchions, they're eventually going to shoo everyone to make room for the ceremony. And so whoever is standing right up against those ropes, you're going to have the best view and everyone will be forced to go behind you. So if you want a good view of the ceremony, make sure you stand there before they start clearing out the room. Number 5 is a food tour or just a walking tour in general. We did do a tour that took us to that famous dumpling restaurant in the basement of Taipei 101 building, and then it also took us to a night market. We didn't think that this tour was necessarily worth it because we didn't get any information out of it. Our tour guide just kind of dumped us off at the restaurant and then hurriedly took us to the night market and then also just let us walk around on our own. So it felt like something we could have done on our own technically. So I wouldn't recommend that tour specifically, but there are some other get your guide tours that I can put in the description that sound like they'd be better to me, or you at least get a little bit more information. So I recommend doing some sort of tour if you can, but just not the one that I did. Number 6 is souvenir shopping. There are lots of blogs out there if you just search for what souvenirs can I get in Taipei. There are lots of blogs that will tell you 20 things that you can look for and things like that, but here are just 3 or 4 things that I was curious in finding. Number 1 is jade. So if you want to buy jade, this is a good place to look for it, and I had a couple places saved on my maps. We didn't get to go, but I have these saved so I can share them with you. Number 1 is this jewelry store. It just looked really nice. I think I found it on Google Maps. There's also this weekend artists corner, and it looks like they have a bunch of stuff here, including jade. There's also this holiday jade market, which is also near Flower Market, and we didn't get a chance to go here, unfortunately, but this is where I would have gone, I think, if we were really going to try to get some jade. Another thing I was interested in finding was some Taiwanese cypress. They sell this as chopsticks, incense, and I think little carvings and things like that. Just something to look out for. There's also Taiwan koji pottery. In this Taiwanese art form, it has several coats of glaze and is used as temple decoration. We found some at a store called Hakka Blue, which is on that Dihua Street, the first one that I first mentioned. And it had a beautiful selection of pottery overall, and then it had some koji pottery as well, and that's actually where I learned about it in the first place. Okay, number 7 is museums. There's a good amount of museums here, but some I have saved on my list are the National Taiwan Museum, which is actually in the city and pretty easy to get to. There's the Museum of Contemporary Art Taipei. And then there is the National Palace Museum, which everyone said this is the best one to go to, but it is a little bit out of the way. Next, there are night markets. There are so many of them, and I can't pronounce them, so I'm just going to put them up here on the screen for you to screen grab or take a picture of so you can look them up later. My approach to night markets is that I don't really know anything, and I'm not expecting that much, so to me, they were all like kind of the same. The one that we went to on our tour was the Roe Street night market. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. And it was good. There was lots of stalls and stuff like that, but it was super crowded. There's actually one that we had more fun at that I don't even think was on the maps. I'll put a picture of it here. I don't know what it's called. And it was more of like a chill, covered arcade type of street that opened up into a larger food market that we weren't expecting, like all these food stalls and stuff. And it was way more local, way more relaxed. I think a lot of the night markets, they get a lot of hype and they're all really crowded. But I think the food's really, really good at all of them. So I would suggest if you have a hotel, maybe ask the people there, where could we go for some street food and stuff like that? Because I think there's a lot more smaller ones sprinkled around the city that aren't talked about very often. And I think those are, to me, a better experience because they're not as crowded. Number 9, flea markets and vintage stores. We unfortunately didn't get to any of these, but I'm going to share them with you. Again, you can screen grab this or take a picture or whatever you want to. One thing to note is that a lot of the flea markets are open from 6 a.m. to noon, and they're closed on Mondays. And then there's also a coffee shop called Coffee Dumbo, and I have it marked on my map as a cool area and street to shop around, and I think there's a couple vintage stores near there too. Number 10 is very exciting. It is bars and restaurants. Some of these recommendations came from me Googling different craft beer places that exist in Taipei, and other ones are recommendations from friends or just things that I saw on Google Maps. A couple of them that we actually went to are this homemade noodle place, and it is in a basement of kind of a mall situation. It has Michelin-rated braised beef wide noodles, and they were very good. There's also a historic building called Red House that you'll find on maps, and we spent a night or two around this area. It's really interesting to have this historic brick building and then all around it as all these gay bars. And so we were there kind of around the time when Nymphia Wind was in Drag Race, and so I was trying to ask people if they knew who she was, and they didn't, so I don't know where she hangs out. It's not there, I guess. But it was still a fun place to walk around at night if you're looking for some bars to go to. There's also this one place that was near our hotel. I'm sorry, I don't know what it was called. I'll put it up here and I'll try to show you something written in English so you can try to find it on Google Maps. They had a really, really good breakfast sandwich situation. It was near a hotel. We went there every day. It was super good. Number 10 is some outdoor places to hang out. First, I have the Lohas Park, and I have a note that this is good for cherry blossom season. There's also a place up north called Thermal Valley. It's a hot spring valley. I don't think you can get in the hot springs, but our friend went up there and said it was a really cool place to walk around if you have the time. There's also this Huaxi 1914 Creative Park, and I have a note that they have performers on the weekends. There is a wharf container market, which has some different type of food stalls. Will and I walked around there a little bit during dusk. And I have a note that the views at night here are really good, and it's just a cool place to chill and kind of enjoy, the evening. Number 11 is day trips and places outside the city that you can visit within the day. One I have saved is Keeling City. I don't know why, but I have it saved as a place that we could go for a day trip. Secondly, I have Queen's Head for some really cool rock formations. And if you do go on Get Your Guide, there's a couple that will take you to this area so you can explore. There's also Jiufen, which is where we went for the day. You take the train and then you have to take a bus, but everyone kind of knows where you're trying to go, so it's not that hard to figure out. It was a rainy day, but it was still really, really crowded, which was a little frustrating because then everyone has umbrellas and it's hard to kind of walk around. But anyways, still a really cool place. I'm really glad we went. I feel like I could have spent the night there, but glad we got to go see it for the day. There's also Jiufen Old Street. So if you see people who visit Taipei and they're like letting go these lanterns up into the sky, this is where they're at. Nearby from here is also the Jiufen waterfall that looks really cool too. Number 12, let's just talk about the time of year for a second. When we visited, it was a tail end of the Lunar New Year or the Chinese New Year, and that was really cool because there was a lot of lanterns still up. If you're planning a trip, I would look up when the Lunar New Year is and then see what kind of events they have scheduled for that time of year because it'd be a really cool, fun thing to do. I would also see if you're going to be there during the New Year's because Taipei is one of the top places in the world to spend New Year's, which makes it really, really expensive and really hard to find a hotel around New Year's time. You have to plan really far in advance if you're planning to do this. Just be warned. Now I want to talk a little bit about where we stayed. I got a lot of recommendations from people about the neighborhood to stay in. Some people said that they preferred to stay a little bit east of the city, still on the main train line, but a little bit east away from the river there. I chose to stay in the Shi-Men-Ting District, and I have a note in my phone saying that's like the Shibuya neighborhood of Tokyo, but of Taipei. So that's why I chose to stay there because we like to stay somewhere with a lot of nightlife and easy to walk to things and very accessible to the rest of the city. We stayed at the Kama Boutique Hotel, which wasn't super fancy or anything like that, but the staff were all really nice, and I think that it was a great location for us, especially because it was within walking distance of this walking district, which was really fun, super lively place with lots of shopping, restaurants, and things like that. Another little tip about Taipei is that it's not super close to the airport. It's like 45 minutes to an hour if you're taking the train, and I think driving sometimes it can be that long too. So if you have a really, really early flight the next day, for me, I'm getting more like this. As I keep getting older, I just prefer to stay near an airport if I have a really early flight the next day so we don't have to worry about it or wake up super early. So we have stayed at this hotel there called City Suites, Taiwan Gateway before. It's like a 5-minute drive to the airport. It's nothing fancy, but they have breakfast, and if you're looking to not stress the morning of your flight, I'd recommend staying somewhere like here close to the airport. There's a smaller suburb a little bit south of the airport as well that's on a train line that has a night market, and it's kind of more local and things like that. Will has stayed there before, and he thought that it was chill. So think about when your flight is just to avoid some stress on the day of your flight. Cool. Well, there's some recommendations for Taipei. I hope that you have a really good time planning your flight. We actually did this trip in conjunction with a larger Southeast Asia trip. So we went to Vietnam after this. And if you're interested in going to Vietnam, I will put a video here about how to plan your trip to Vietnam. And then I also have a whole playlist of Southeast Asia videos that I can put right here too. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.